Whenever I see a sports car flash past, or someone my age walking into a restaurant like they own the world, I catch myself asking the same question. Why not me? Are they really smarter? Were they born luckier? Or did they learn something the rest of us were never taught to see? For a long time, success made me angry. I'd roll my eyes and tell myself stories about privilege, timing, or unfair advantages. But anger never paid me back, so I stopped reacting and I started studying. I wanted to understand how the top fraction of people actually think, how they decide, how they train their minds, while the rest of the world wastes time wishing. This audiobook is what I found. It isn't luck, it's structure, and everything you're about to hear, you can learn and apply immediately. Chapter 1. The question that changes everything. Every story of transformation starts with one question. For most people, it arrives quietly, in those brief moments of comparison, when you notice someone living the life you want and whisper to yourself, "Why not me?" It stings a little, that blend of jealousy and curiosity. You observe the car, the calm confidence, the freedom, and suddenly you begin to measure yourself against it. That question, uncomfortable but honest, marks the line between daydreaming and deliberate change. If you listen closely, it isn't envy speaking, it's potential asking for instruction. For years, I asked that question myself. Whenever I saw someone successful, the first emotion was judgment. I'd craft stories that made their success easier to dismiss. They got lucky. They were born into it. They had connections. It protected my pride, but kept me stuck. Anger creates heat. It doesn't create direction. So I made a choice, to study instead of complain. I wanted to understand what they did differently. That shift from resentment to research was the true beginning. The question, "Why not me?" becomes dangerous when it stops at emotion. It turns useful only when it fuels observation. Anger says, "This isn't fair." Discipline says, "Show me the system." Every successful person operates within patterns, habits, decisions, and boundaries that accumulate over time. Most people imitate emotion. A few study cause. When envy becomes investigation, power returns to you. Look closely and you'll see. Most people react to success like spectators at a race. They watch someone pull ahead and argue about the track conditions instead of adjusting their own stride. They search for reasons instead of skills. Winners, on the other hand, break things down. Pace, breathing, discipline, mindset. They extract wisdom from every observation, knowing that excellence leaves fingerprints everywhere. Real growth begins when you stop gathering proof that you can't and start collecting proof that you can. The better question isn't, what makes them better? It's, what can I learn from what they're doing that I'm not? Study differences without emotional static. How they manage attention, handle setbacks, structure their day. You'll see that success isn't magic, it's math, performed consistently across time. The first mental shift is humility. To admit that someone else is ahead of you, not because life favored them, but because they figured something out sooner. Pride rejects that truth. It wants equality of outcome without equality of effort. But humility converts comparison into strategy. It gives you permission to evolve. You stop defending comfort and start protecting progress. Every spark of envy points to potential. When it burns, don't bury it, trace it. Ask what part of their life triggered it. The freedom in their schedule? The steadiness in their confidence? Those clues reveal hidden desires. The top 1% don't waste jealousy, they investigate it. They ask, what do they understand that I ignore each day? That curiosity is practical intelligence. Then ask in reverse, why me? Why do I repeat patterns that hold me back? Why do I drop focus when progress slows? Most people fight external systems. The few who grow debug internal ones. They know no enemy can defeat a person brave enough to confront their own habits. The shortcut to self-mastery is ruthless honesty about routine. Until you face what you avoid, why not me remains a rhetorical question. Many never study their own behavior. They study distraction, analyzing others' outcomes instead of their own input. But if you redirected that scrutiny inward, tracking time, energy, consistency, you'd immediately locate the gap. The question, why not me, demands data, not drama. It asks, where does my attention actually go? That single audit explains results faster than any speech. Look deeply, and the patterns of successful people become clear. They wake early, or at least intentionally. They keep promises, even when small. They treat every task as an extension of their reputation. These choices cost nothing but ego. Most won't sustain them because consistency feels ordinary. Yet the truth is, you never outgrow fundamentals. The elite simply repeat them longer, quietly, until mastery compounds unseen. To ask, why not me, is to accept responsibility. It shifts focus from blame to blueprint. Each irritation becomes a field report, proof that a working system exists. Use it. Reverse engineer it. If someone shows focus, examine their environment before assuming stronger willpower. If someone stays calm under stress, study their rituals before calling it natural talent. Replace myth with mechanism. Gradually, the question transforms, from comparison to conviction, from resentment to reassurance. You begin to understand. Ordinary people refine themselves into extraordinary ones through observation and repetition. Success is transferable. Discipline is learnable. Why not me evolves into it will be me if I keep doing the right things long enough. That's the turning point, when motivation hardens into method. Reaching it requires patience and permission to be new. Ego hates being a beginner. It craves instant mastery. But every person you envy once struggled too. They learned through awkward repetition. They chose progress over appearance. You can do the same. Accept the discomfort of starting small, and you've already entered their same trajectory. No one remembers their first attempt except the person making it. The world only sees what's accumulated. So begin. Quietly. Where you are. Don't wait for ideal conditions. Success isn't another planet. It's this one, inhabited by people who act on their plans whether they feel ready or not. The only distance between them and you is minutes of uninterrupted effort. Stack enough of those minutes, and the line between envy and equality disappears. The emotional weight of why not me dissolves once you replace resentment with responsibility. You stop seeing success as exclusion, you see it as cause and effect. Emotions settle. Strategy starts. The gap between observers and achievers isn't vast. It's measured in how quickly emotion becomes execution. Here's your exercise for this chapter. Next time envy stirs, pause. Ask 3 things. What result triggered it? What behavior produced that result? Which version of me avoids that behavior? Write the answers simply. Somewhere in those lines lies your next move. That's how comparison becomes curriculum. This chapter isn't merely about ambition. It's about awareness. Everyone wants progress. Few admit someone's ahead because they practiced longer. Instead of resenting proof, recognize it. It means success is achievable because it's being achieved right now. Why not me doesn't belong in complaint. It belongs in construction. It's the blueprint of someone ready to recalibrate. From here on, stop wondering why others succeed. Start demonstrating how you will. Every successful life begins this way, with curiosity strong enough to replace envy, humility steady enough to learn, and patience constant enough to let repetition become results. In the chapters ahead, we'll study what the 1% do differently, not to glorify them, but to simplify their systems into repeatable steps. For now, carry one thought into tomorrow. The only thing separating you from the person you admire is the patience to follow their structure, without needing their spotlight. That is the question that changes everything. And soon, the answer you'll live. Chapter 2. The difference is system, not superiority. When you study highly successful people closely, the first realization hurts the ego. They're not smarter than you. They're more organized. They don't hold greater potential. They hold better systems. What seems like genius from a distance is usually structure up close. A sequence of ordinary actions repeated under rules that stay fixed, even when motivation fades. The world calls them exceptional because it misunderstands the simplicity behind consistency. The difference between the 1% and everyone else isn't superiority. It's structure, executed relentlessly. Most people still believe progress is a personality trait. They mistake discipline for disposition, assuming some are born naturally focused. But discipline isn't DNA, it's design. Take two people with the same goal. One builds clear routines, sets their morning procedures, ranks priorities, protects time. The other relies on energy, inspiration, and the hope of trying their best. 6 months later, the system beats the sentiment every time. The first person created an autopilot. The second stayed manual, draining energy through constant emotional steering. Systems free you from your own fluctuations. They're scaffolding that lets progress climb, even when mood declines. Think of athletes. They don't debate whether to train each morning. Life is scheduled around non-negotiables. Their defining moments are rarely exciting. They're invisible. Fixed bedtimes, set rehearsal blocks, meals measured, not guessed. Each pattern removes one decision and converts willpower into reflex. That's the real luxury. Fewer internal arguments, more external progress. Most people cling to flexibility because they fear boredom. They confuse freedom with living undefined. But the 1% know that routine isn't a cage, it's leverage. It compresses decision fatigue and channels creativity through consistency. Look at anyone producing master-level work. Their life appears simple because the chaos has been filtered into rhythm. Structure doesn't cage expression, it amplifies it. Without form, inspiration has nowhere to land. A system is any repeatable process that ensures standards without emotional interference. Waking at the same hour is a system. Tracking spending is a system. Planning your workout before reaching the gym is a system. Once you remove choice during execution, a system exists. Spontaneity ruins more performance than failure ever does. Waiting for a feeling wastes the start of every day. Top performers build environments where the right action takes less effort than the wrong one. Systems create feedback loops. What can't be measured can't be improved. The 99% rely on, I think I'm doing fine. The 1% rely on, the numbers say adjust here. They measure input, not mood. A writer counts words instead of waiting for inspiration. A business owner tracks calls instead of guessing morale. Data humbles, but also equalizes. Numbers speak truth without insult. Once you trust facts over feelings, progress becomes logical, and the mind obeys logic faster than emotion. You may think systems feel cold or mechanical, yet look around. Nature is the most elegant system there is. Seasons, tides, orbit, evolution. Stability sustains creativity. Systems give rhythm the body can trust. Humans survive by cycles of light and sleep. Routine preserves life itself. Discipline is simply our conscious version of this natural law. The 1% mirror it. They live in rhythm rather than rebel against it. Without systems, burnout follows. Every task becomes a debate. Friction builds. Energy drains into deciding how to start instead of starting. Systems remove the need for daily permission. They turn I hope to into I do. That conversion is the origin of consistency. Trace any outstanding result. It always leads back to someone who stopped relying on motivation and built mechanisms instead. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't lack time, they lack structure. Their days are ruled by mood logic. If the morning feels good, they perform. If it doesn't, they drift. A system replaces luck with design. The 1% automate the ordinary so their minds can focus on the meaningful. Their routines shepherd attention exactly where it should go. Success feels effortless only because it's organized effort. Building a system isn't complex. It rests on 3 pillars: clarity, constraint, and consistency. Clarity. Know exactly what outcome you're pursuing and describe it in measurable terms. Constraint. Remove competing options during execution, deadlines, boundaries, environments. Consistency. Repeat long enough for momentum to replace willpower. Any routine rooted in these 3 will work. Complexity is optional. Repetition is not. People build systems unintentionally all the time. Checking the phone first thing, scrolling while eating, procrastinating before hard work. Every habit is a system in disguise. You already run hundreds of them. The 1% simply design theirs deliberately. They convert destructive autopilots into useful ones. The goal isn't perfection, it's ownership. Habits can't be deleted, only replaced. Another subtle difference. The 1% audit their systems constantly. Nothing stays sacred if results stall. They treat routines like software. Find bugs, patch errors, refine efficiency. Mediocrity protects comfort. Mastery revises it. A system lives only through maintenance. Build it, test it, improve it forever. Systems don't replace passion, they stabilize it. Passion without structure burns fast and dies early. Structure without passion works cold, but endures. Together, they form endurance with warmth. The people you admire didn't fall in love with excitement. They fell in love with repetition's architecture. Most chase the feeling of accomplishment. The few chase the framework that guarantees it. That's why they stay calm in chaos. Their environment supports focus automatically. When others panic, their process performs. They've constrained not only their work, but their identity. I am the kind of person who follows the system, no matter the emotion. Identity-based systems survive storms because feelings can't erase definitions. Ask yourself, what are the non-negotiables of your day? If everything else shifts, what remains intact? If the answer is nothing, begin there. Choose one ritual and make it gravity. It might be reading 30 minutes. Exercise at the same hour. Planning tomorrow before bed. Greatness hides in the small repeatables. Michelangelo didn't sculpt in bursts, he carved daily. A system doesn't ask for more effort, it asks for less thought. Let structure spare you the fatigue of constant decision. Anchor work, health, and learning to predictable triggers: time, place, signal. At first it feels mechanical, then it feels freeing. Like an instrument tuned so precisely that music plays the moment it's touched. That's life aligned through order. Eventually, identity changes. The systems you enforce reshape who you are. Discipline stops being what you do and becomes who you are. Then the world calls it talent again, because it can't see the structure underneath. But you'll know. Superiority was never inborn. It was engineered through thousands of quiet repetitions that removed randomness from success. In practice, start tonight. Find one area stealing energy: sleep, planning, focus. Write one short rule for its best version. I begin work at 8, regardless of how I feel. Post it where you'll see it. Follow it for 30 days without exception. Soon, confidence appears, not by magic, but by predictability. When leadership is clear, the nervous system finally rests. The disciplined rise, not because the universe favors them, but because design does. Systems are fairer than motivation, more reliable than luck, more transferable than intelligence. They turn wishful hope into repeatable instruction. When "why not me" returns to your mind, remember, It can be you, the moment emotion gives way to structure. Next, we'll explore how curiosity turns into research, how to treat examples of success as textbooks for growth. But first, lay the groundwork. Write your rule, build your system. Because the gap between ordinary and exceptional is never superiority, it's schedule.
Chapter 3. Stop resenting and start researching.
Envy is fire. It can burn you or refine you. Most people let it burn uncontrolled. They see success and feel the heat. Resentment, insecurity, frustration. It's natural, but it's wasted energy. Those who rise above do something different. They take that same heat and turn it into light. They use curiosity to illuminate what jealousy hides. That small shift from resentment to research divides those who quietly grow from those who loudly complain. The mind compares by instinct. It's how we measure safety and belonging. But when comparison turns outward without reflection, it rots into bitterness. You see someone living the life you want and craft stories to protect ego. They were lucky. They had help. They knew the right people. Each story soothes for a moment and then stalls you. Every resentful explanation is a mental anesthetic, easing pain short-term, guaranteeing mediocrity long-term. The more you blame success, the less you see its design. Research starts the moment jealousy becomes information. When envy rises, don't run, inspect it. Ask what exactly stung, the result or the effort. If it's the result, trace the steps that built it. If it's the effort, face the truth. You're witnessing a skill you've neglected. The emotions that irritate you often mark the abilities you're missing. Envy, then, can point north. Whatever provokes you reveals what to learn. Once the heat cools, let curiosity take over fast. Don't idolize success, dissect it. Every achievement has anatomy, a mindset behind it, a process beneath it, discipline threading through both. Find those parts. Replicate them honestly within your own circumstances. Study patterns, not people. Structure, not status. Research is humility disguised as hunger. It says, someone found a better way, and I'm willing to learn. To study well, detach from outcome and observe routine. Watch how high performers design their mornings. Notice how they cluster tasks, protect thinking time, remove distraction. The great myth about the 1%? That they're addicted to work. In truth, they're addicted to precision. They structure days to eliminate waste. Anger can't teach you that. Only observation can. Anger measures distance through feeling. Research measures difference through method. Shift your language from accusation to analysis. Don't ask, why are they so lucky? Ask, what actions made them ready when opportunity arrived? Success owes less to luck than to preparation meeting timing. What looks like fortune is often trained readiness intersecting with randomness. Ordinary eyes see the randomness. Researchers see the readiness. They convert timing into training so that next opportunity can't surprise them. Learn to analyze without worship or cynicism. You're not judging a person, you're mapping a pattern. When someone acts decisively, notice their inner code. How do they interpret fear? What tiny decisions do they repeat under pressure? Which emotions do they reward, and which do they ignore? The gap isn't intelligence, it's habit depth, it's emotional filtering. Resentment asks, why do they have what I deserve? Research asks, what do they know that I don't? The first makes the world unfair, the second makes learning urgent. Progress belongs to the second, because resentment stares outward, research turns inward. Every hour spent envying could become an hour of data collection. The question isn't who wins, it's who learns. Changing from resentment to research even shifts biology. Bitterness spikes stress and narrows vision. Curiosity opens cognition. A curious brain literally notices more. You cannot be jealous and learning at once. Choose analysis and intelligence expands. When resentment still flares, don't hide it, redirect it. Say, That success irritates me because I want something like it. Then turn that statement into a plan. What behavior can I mirror today? The routine, not the result. When envy becomes action, it cleans itself. Ambition sheds shame. Comparison becomes calibration. Imagine a coworker praised while you're overlooked. The untrained mind gossips. The trained mind observes. What rhythms produce their reliability? How do they prepare for meetings? How do they communicate under stress? Within days, your question evolves from why them to how can I learn from that? Resentment dissolves and productivity appears. History favors students of success. Athletes review rival footage frame by frame, angle, rhythm, timing. Every great craftsperson imitates before they innovate. Humility always precedes originality. By researching what works before reinventing it, you compress years of trial into weeks of learning. To anchor the practice, create a study log. Each week, pick one person or example in your field. Identify 3 repeatable behaviors worth testing. Apply one immediately. Don't copy identity, copy rhythm. Run the experiment for at least 2 weeks. The goal isn't mimicry, it's evidence. Soon you'll stop seeing success as possession and start seeing it as process. You might fear that studying others weakens individuality. It doesn't, it strengthens it. Like an artist mastering technique before finding style, structure comes before originality. Every top performer borrowed before they built. Most beginners demand uniqueness first and discipline later, creating scattered effort without spine. You must build the spine before the flair. Research humbles arrogance too. It reminds you every expert is still a student. Each system you study exposes flaws. The deeper you look, the more admiration blends with realism. You stop dreaming of perfect success and see the grind woven beneath it. That clarity keeps you steady when results slow, because you know even excellence requires patience. Understanding systems also deepens empathy. Judgment fades once you see what others endured to reach their skill. You stop resenting because you recognize your own work will cost the same. That truth isn't discouraging, it stabilizes expectation. Resentment feeds on illusion, the fantasy that others found shortcuts. Research destroys illusion through evidence. You see the price and accept the payment. Envy evaporates, discipline remains. The final step of research is application. Observation without execution becomes entertainment. Once you learn something new, apply one piece now. If someone's deep work schedule inspired you, mimic it tomorrow. If their preparation method helped them stay calm, test it this week. Application turns theory into self-programming. Approach all of this like a scientist running experiments, not a fan collecting trivia. When a habit works, record it. When it fails, refine it. Over time, your notebook becomes a manual tailored to your own psychology. Your momentum grows because wasted emotion has converted to useful data. Worry shrinks as evidence builds. Remember, resentment is heavy, curiosity is light. One drags, the other moves. So next time success stings, pause. Ask, what's the method underneath? Repeat that question every time jealousy strikes. Soon, every glimpse of excellence becomes instruction in disguise. Transformation starts here, at the moment when someone else's achievement stops being a mirror for your insecurities and becomes a manual for your improvements. The distance between bitterness and brilliance is observation. Stop resenting, start researching. The world stops being competition the instant it becomes class. Chapter 4. The PED of Consistency. Everything that separates the 1% from the rest lives inside this word, consistency. It isn't glamorous, but it is unstoppable. If success made a sound, it would be the quiet rhythm of effort, repeated long after applause fades. Consistency is the pattern beneath all excellence. Athletes drilling alone in empty gyms, writers reshaping the same paragraph before dawn, leaders repeating calm routines while others chase excitement. It isn't luck or genius. It's structure maintained until discipline replaces emotion. Most people misread time. They think short bursts of hard work equal progress, then wonder why results vanish. They mistake intensity for persistence. A day of devotion followed by a week of distraction only creates fatigue. The top 1% know energy matters less than rhythm. They design lifestyles that run without daily motivation. Their strength is steady output, not periodic fire. The race isn't against others, it's against inconsistency. Consistency is hard for one reason: it's dull. The mind craves novelty, not repetition. But repetition is the language of mastery. Every complex skill becomes simple through countless small cycles. Mediocrity hunts entertainment. Mastery finds fascination inside repetition. Those who can love routine hold advantage over everyone chasing emotion. Notice how disciplined people rarely talk about motivation. They've converted it into mechanics. Waking, organizing, training, learning. These require no debate. They trigger automatically. That's the hidden rule. Remove negotiation. Each time you argue with yourself about showing up, you drain energy that could fuel the work. Through repetition, you free yourself from that debate. It isn't prison, it's peace from inner chaos. Consistency works because of compounding. Each act builds quietly on the last. 1% better daily feels invisible for months, miraculous after years. But compounding punishes inconsistency as sharply as it rewards discipline. Break the rhythm long enough, and you reset to zero. That's why average performers are forever restarting. They love beginnings but can't endure maintenance. To cultivate consistency, design predictability. The best rely on systems that hold them steady when willpower slips. They keep recurring cues: same time, same place, same setup. These cues train the body when work begins. Soon, physiology anticipates performance, warming up, focusing, engaging before thought interferes. You're no longer forcing action, you're carried by rhythm. The 1% treat their relocated like choreography, chosen steps until momentum makes them effortless. Think of musicians practicing scales. They don't wait for inspiration, they rehearse to generate it. Repetition builds familiarity. Familiarity erases fear. Your craft, your body, your mind need the same rehearsal. Each consistent session makes the next smoother. Inconsistency resets difficulty. Those who quit endure endless first days. Consistency also builds credibility, with others and with yourself. Every kept promise grows confidence. Each broken one trains doubt. When you keep missing your own commitments, belief collapses. Repair starts small. Finish one daily task without excuse. Read, write, train. What you choose matters less than completion. When the mind accepts, I finish what I start, confidence returns. Trust breeds certainty, and certainty removes friction. Many stall waiting for perfect conditions. They postpone until the schedule clears, the weather improves, or the tools arrive. Conditions always change. The elite accept imperfection. They choose continuity over control. They'd rather perform poorly today than restart tomorrow. Flawed execution repeated still beats flawless execution delayed. The universe rewards consistency more than intention. Emotional stability grows from rhythm. Inconsistent people swing between highs and crashes. Consistent ones flatten those extremes. Their structure absorbs chaos. One bad day dents momentum, not destroys it. By enduring routine discomfort, they stay calm through surprise distress. Consistency trains both skill and nervous system. It makes peace predictable. You might think consistency belongs to those with more time or drive. In truth, consistent people simply say no, often. Every yes thins focus. They decline distractions and even good opportunities to protect the essential. Their calendar looks sparse, their results look rich. They trade variety for depth. That trade defines mastery. Begin your code with one anchor habit. Pick one small action that serves your goal. Do it at the same moment each day for 30 days straight. No exceptions, no negotiations. The goal isn't scale, it's proof. Your brain must see continuity long enough to attach identity to it. Around week 3, resistance fades. By week 5, skipping feels unnatural. That's rewiring. Your mind confirming new default.
Chapter 5. Focus is wealth. Focus is the rarest currency left in the modern world. It buys clarity, productivity, and peace, yet it's the form of wealth most people spend carelessly. They scatter attention like loose change across every vibration, headline, and conversation that flashes by. Then they wonder why progress feels thin, why exhaustion arrives early, why goals slip away. The reason is simple. They're bankrupt, not of energy, but of focus. The 1% treat focus like gold. They invest it where return is certain. Everyone else wastes it trying to look rich. We live in history's loudest age. The competition is no longer for money or talent, it's for concentration. Companies study your gaze, your pauses, your habits, each alert engineered to fracture focus. Every convenient distraction is a quiet tax on the mind. Most pay that tax willingly, mistaking motion for meaning. But those who build, invent, and lead understand attention is finite. They guard it like a fortress, because what you focus on, you become. Focus directs every resource you have. What you give attention to grows, what you neglect decays. The disciplined treat that law as mathematics. If they offer an hour to a project, they give the whole hour. No digital noise, no half listening, no multitasking. Half attention creates half results. Full presence can compress months of effort into an afternoon. Greatness isn't measured in hours spent, but in attention invested. The brain isn't built for constant switching. Every jump between tasks burns energy and leaves residue, mental static that dulls creativity. Try this. Bounce between messages and music, then attempt silence. The mind hums like leftover electricity. That's life for the distracted majority. Their focus never lands long enough for mastery. They confuse busyness with progress, movement with momentum. The 1% know a single rule. Quality thought needs quantity time with one thing. They schedule deep work as sacred appointments. Phones silent, tabs closed, rooms quiet. In that stillness, thinking thickens. A focused hour beats 8 scattered ones. Their calm power comes from this silence. They think clearly because they live without constant noise. Focus is also emotional restraint. The world provokes endlessly. News crafted for outrage, conversations for gossip, feeds for envy. Each reaction splinters attention. The wealthy in mind choose detachment. They scroll less, argue less, save thought like capital. To the impulsive, restraint looks cold. In truth, it's warmth conserved for creation. Every burst of outrage steals bandwidth from building. They'd rather be misunderstood than mentally drained. Guarding focus isn't isolation, it's boundaries visible only to the aware. The disciplines structure their day with deliberate control. Scheduled notifications, silent hours, closed doors, sometimes even planned boredom. They see attention as water. It takes the shape of its container. Narrow the channel and flow strengthens. Leave it unbounded and it turns to swamp. The irony of focus is that peace fuels productivity. Most believe pressure sharpens attention. The elite know the opposite. Calm sustains concentration. You can't hold focus in chaos. That's why meditation, exercise, and solitude live in every high-performer schedule. They're cognitive maintenance. Calmness is the oxygen of focus. Anxiety suffocates it. Think of your last flow state. Hours disappearing. Effort feeling weightless. That didn't come from strain, but from single alignment. You stopped dividing awareness. Flow isn't accidental. It's practiced focus. The brain learns how to return there faster if you stay silent long enough for depth to form. The first half hour often feels rough. Most quit. The 1% push through until immersion takes over. Focus compounds like money. 10 uninterrupted minutes strengthen the next 10 through momentum. Interruptions reset progress entirely. Constant checking and multitasking keep you stuck in perpetual restarts. The disciplined allocate attention like investors manage portfolios. Few projects, full commitment. When they work, they work. When they rest, they truly rest. Divided lives burn twice the energy and reach half the result. To build focus, begin by subtracting noise. Remove one distraction layer each week. Mute unnecessary alerts. Stop background sound that adds nothing. Dedicate 1 uninterrupted hour daily to creation or study. For 60 minutes, remain. No switching, no searching. Boredom will appear first. Let it pass. Beneath boredom lies depth. Beneath depth, brilliance unimaginable to the scattered mind. Next, connect focus to purpose. Attention without aim becomes tension. Ask, what outcome deserves my energy today? Then give it everything. When interruptions surface, note them but don't yield. Each resisted impulse trains endurance stronger than hours of forced effort. Expect withdrawal. Your brain craves novelty. Stillness feels unnatural at first. Pause, breathe, stretch. But don't seek stimulation as reward. Rest should restore, not restart distraction. Gradually, chaos loses flavor. You begin to crave clarity instead, the clean satisfaction of completion. Another rule: finish more beginnings. Unfinished tasks fragment thought. Completion consolidates it. The 1% are finishers. Their joy lies in closure, not collection. Each finished task clears mental space for the next deep focus. Focus extends beyond work. Scattered people divide emotion across endless chatter. Focused people choose silence when words add no value. They don't perform availability, they practice presence. When they listen completely. That's why people feel magnetized by them. True influence is concentrated attention offered generously. Once you regard focus as wealth, priorities shift. You guard mornings like savings. You trim chaos like expenses. You audit distractions like debt. Saying no calmly becomes financial sense for the mind. You stop confusing busyness with worth. Slow becomes strategic. Stillness feels luxurious. Use a focus ledger to prove it. Each morning, choose one task that matters most. Each evening, record where attention actually went. The gap reveals leaks. Seal one leak at a time. Soon you'll feel spare attention accumulating like interest. Energy saved, clarity earned, confidence funded. True focus isn't intense staring, it's intentional narrowing. It's distinguishing signal from noise and realizing that peace is profitable. The modern world profits from your distraction. Unbeaten minds profit from their attention. Wealth, skill, influence, all are compounded focus stretched over time. If you can hold attention steady while the world spins frantic, you'll possess calm others pay for. Every advantage, their money, brand, results, originated as mastered attention. Focus is wealth. Protect it like fortune. Spend it like seed. And never again treat it as free. Chapter 6. Learn how they think about failure. Failure is the fault line dividing the average from the exceptional. Most people meet it and retreat. The 1% meet it and refine. The difference isn't that extraordinary people fail less. They simply interpret failure differently. Mistakes aren't verdicts, they're diagnostics. Each one is a report from reality. Here's what your system missed. The majority take that message personally. They treat failure as proof of inadequacy instead of progress. How you process loss decides whether you advance or repeat. From far away, success looks like a steady climb. Up close, it's collapse followed by correction. The 1% expect those dips. They see early failures as test data, not disgrace. That mindset isn't denial, it's conditioning. They've practiced trading shame for analysis. After every fall, their questions stay clinical. What exactly failed? Method, timing, or effort? Which variable can I control? The moment blame turns into breakdown of detail, power shifts back to them. Failure stops threatening identity and starts informing strategy. Average performers avoid postmortems because they fuse failure with self. When plans collapse, their language expands tragically. I can't do anything right. I'm not built for this. They turn one event into a definition. The 1% use smaller sentences. That approach wasn't sufficient. Precision protects confidence. Emotional control begins with careful vocabulary. Failure is feedback, not prophecy. Fear of failure builds prisons before failure even arrives. People design lives to avoid embarrassment instead of chasing excellence. They skip new ideas, new roles, harder limits, anything that risks looking foolish. But avoiding failure and guaranteeing mediocrity are the same decision disguised. The disciplined enter uncertainty on purpose. Exposure accelerates adaptation. Each mistake clarifies next action. Comfort clarifies nothing. Watch any group under stress. When things go wrong, average minds play defense, justify, soften, deflect. Winners play offense, accept, dissect, correct. Humility stings briefly, but it raises credibility. Responsibility grants control. The instant you own a problem, you regain the power to fix it. The 1% practice accountability like ritual. They know this advantage. You can't steer what you deny driving. Failure carries residue, shame, guilt, frustration. The disciplined feel it but don't feed it. They sit with it like scientists collecting data. They let discomfort speak, record its lesson, then move on. The 99% replay pain instead of extracting principle. The difference is time. Successful minds shorten recovery through structured reflection. Reflect, extract, apply, move. That rhythm turns loss into fuel. Think of a pilot investigating a crash. Emotion acknowledged, then analysis begins. Instruments, checklists, human factors. The outcome improves every flight after. Your life deserves the same professionalism. When a project fails, log it plainly. Goal, process, result, reaction. Write it down. Failure shrinks to information the second it's documented. The 1% detach ego by reframing failure as cost. Businesses pay for research. They pay with mistakes. Each failure is tuition in complexity. The invoice hurts, but education compounds. Most see pain as theft. The disciplined see it as investment. You change relationship with failure the day you expect it. Expectation isn't pessimism, it's readiness. Athletes expect fatigue. Entrepreneurs expect rejection. Artists expect ugly drafts.
Anticipation removes shock. When failure arrives, it was already part of the plan. Every worthwhile outcome includes this cost of entry. Another secret. They fail privately before performing publicly. They design daily discomfort to practice recovery. Cold mornings, harder limits, smaller controlled losses. Each rehearsal builds tolerance. When real setbacks come, the response is calm. Most never practice small loss, so big ones paralyze them. Your recovery speed defines trajectory. The longer you brood, the longer failure owns momentum. The disciplines shorten emotional spirals through immediate re-engagement. They move quickly, not to hide pain, but to drain it. Action cleanses regret faster than thought alone. Notice how the best rarely even say failure. Their vocabulary shifts to data, iteration, test. They reject success/failure binaries and live in experiment mode. Nothing is wasted. Every result teaches. They don't ask, did it work? They ask, what did it teach? Then adjust. A single mental swap turns self-criticism into research. Culture glamorizes success so loudly that failure feels fatal. Highlight reels distort perception until slow progress looks useless. The 1% know better. Everything valuable begins awkwardly. Progress hides because process looks dull. They don't romanticize humble starts, they normalize them. Comparison fades once you realize every expert began uncertain. To reprogram reaction, use 3 commands after any mistake. Pause, describe, adjust. Pause breaks emotional inertia. Describe replaces panic with specifics. Adjust directs energy toward action. Whether it takes a minute or an hour, the cycle restores focus.
The brain prefers closure to punishment. Adopt another ritual of the elite. Keep your failures visible. Maintain a notebook, folder, or file of errors and extracted lessons. Review monthly. It becomes a museum of resilience, evidence that collapse always ended in recovery. When fear whispers, "This one will finish you," the archive answers, "It never has." The fastest path to recurring failure is hasty judgment. Not every setback needs demolition. Sometimes timing failed, not design. Sometimes execution lagged, not vision. Disciplined thinkers separate flaw from fluctuation. The impatient rebuild what should be tuned. The wise tune what should stand. Only composure reveals that difference. Failure friendliness widens creativity. Once you stop fearing mistakes, experimentation explodes. Ideas multiply because caution no longer chokes them. Iteration accelerates discovery. Many small losses create the one disproportionate win. Each round inherits lessons from the last. Persistence is probability multiplied by review. Managing failure also means emotional economy. Keep compassion intact. The mind learns best in safety. Harsh self-talk turns curiosity brittle. Speak like a coach, firm, not cruel. High performers sustain ambition because they pair standards with respect. They demand progress without self-punishment. Some seasons bring failure after failure. When logic and optimism both collapse, that's when the code matters most. The disciplined don't chase comfort, they chase correction. They remind themselves, failure stops only when learning stops. They focus on trajectory, not position. They replace "why me" with "what is this teaching me?" They see breakdowns as rehearsals for larger challenges. That lens keeps fire alive under ashes. Over time, this calm toward loss hardens into strength. Where others panic, they analyze. Where others quit, they recalibrate. Mastery isn't avoiding failure, it's accelerating through it. Pain reaches them, but registers first as data. That psychological immunity is rarer than talent. It's true resilience. If you rewire only one belief to join the 1%, make it this: failure is feedback. Disappointment is direction. Delay is teacher. Expect resistance, record lessons, act again. Repeat until confidence appears where fear once lived. Then you'll see the truth clearly. Failure never disappeared. You just changed your translation of it. And translation reshapes experience. You've turned loss into leverage, the currency that funds improvement for life.
Chapter 7. Detach from crowd approval. If one addiction rivals comfort, it's approval. Nothing derails discipline faster than the need to be seen maintaining it. Most people chase recognition harder than progress. They shift goals, opinions, even appearance to match reaction. Their orbit is judgment, not principle, so every success depends on applause, and every silence feels like loss. The 1% learned early to detach from that dependency. They appreciate affirmation, but don't require it. Their identity stands on internal scaffolding built from standards, not spectators. Approval is intoxicating because it imitates momentum. Likes, compliments, validation, they feel like growth, though nothing moved. Dopamine surges, warmth spreads, belonging glows. Then the crash comes. When noise fades, the average performer's motivation collapses. Without external echo, doubt fills the quiet. Detached individuals never crash. Their metric is execution, not attention. They work the same unseen as they do applauded. Crowd approval also drains focus. You can't look forward and sideways at once. A mind obsessed with perception loses direction. Every decision becomes double. What's right? And what will they think? The 1% remove the second question entirely. They grasp that judgment is constant, inconsistent, and usually uninformed. Even praise can distort clarity. Once others love your outcome, it's tempting to perform for affection instead of accuracy. Detachment doesn't reject connection, it prioritizes purpose. Work first for principle, second for recognition. Evaluate by process. Did I meet my standard? Did I follow my values? Reactions stay external data, not emotional climate.
The disciplined treat criticism as either information or noise, nothing more. They extract facts, discard friction, and continue working. This habit converts volatility into balance. Most people underestimate how expensive approval is. Consider the daily micro-adjustments made to maintain image, filtering words, posting strategically, trimming authenticity to avoid misinterpretation. That constant editing exhausts attention.
The 1% can serve it through transparency. They live consistently enough that no performance is required. Public or private, their behavior matches. Alignment replaces acting. Energy returns to execution. Detachment strengthens decision-making. Crowds dislike complexity. They reward conformity. If approval governs choices, progress freezes at whatever pleases observers. Advancement demands periods of misunderstanding. True leaders accept short-term ridicule for long-term direction. They'll be mocked today to be studied tomorrow. Independence feels cold only to those addicted to warmth from noise. Freedom begins when you notice how unstable opinion is. Yesterday's hero, today's headline villain. Applause flips to outrage overnight. Praise morphs into envy the moment you ascend. Building identity on that volatility guarantees collapse. The elite anchor identity internally. Their creed is simple. I am defined by my preparation and my integrity, not public mood. That sentence steadies them through cheers and characteristics alike. Detachment requires scheduled solitude. Choose invisibility on purpose. Share less about progress than you produce. Silence rebuilds self-trust. When validation disappears, your motive becomes visible. If passion dies unseen, it was performance, not purpose. Real mastery repeats itself privately. Satisfaction comes from completion, not celebration. At first, detachment stings. Silence feels like rejection. That's detox, the withdrawal from crowds. Stay with it. Soon the nervous need for reaction fades. Independence reappears quietly, like muscle rebuilt after rest. You start acting from necessity instead of attention. That's confidence restored. When criticism appears, translate before reacting. Ask, does this person know my standards? Have they seen my process? If not, their opinion holds entertainment, not authority. Listen for patterns. If multiple perspectives expose a blind spot, analyze. But single voices rarely deserve emotion. Criticism bites hardest when it echoes your own doubts. Strengthen definition, and even insult just sounds foreign. Praise deserves equal caution. Flattery seduces discipline faster than hostility ever could. You're amazing feeds ego, not growth. The 1% receive thanks politely, then return to schedule unchanged. They expand skill, not comfort. When free of praise addiction, you're resilient under pressure. Reality, not approval, becomes your teacher. Social validation also manipulates by threatening exclusion. Once rejection meant danger, now it only wounds ego. Everyone fears being isolated for ambition. The difference lies in command of that fear. The disciplined reframe loneliness as alignment, proof they're exploring new territory. They keep working until solitude becomes authority. Start with small acts unseen. Write one page. Review one concept. Complete one silent workout. Do it privately, on purpose. Quiet action strengthens inner stability. Week after week, identity separates from spectators. Work feels pure again because it needs no witness. This isn't secrecy, it's sovereignty. Value existed before validation. Freedom from opinion breeds paradoxical influence. Autonomy glows, steadiness attracts. Those who ignore the crowd eventually lead it. Independence draws the respect, dependency chases away. Preserve neutrality with regular disconnection. Block a few hours free from metrics. No social feed, no commentary.
That isn't punishment, it's recalibration. In that still space, recalibrate your measures. Did I honour my plan? Did I act with discipline? These are metrics that survive both applause and silence. Detach from approval not because praise is wrong, but because dependence is fragile. Strong minds treat compliments and criticism equally. Background weather around steady climate. When applause stops dictating emotion, consistency doubles and endurance grows. Detachment doesn't harden you, it purifies you. Empathy stays, obsession leaves. You connect without contorting. You can listen without absorbing judgment. Share without showing off. Fail publicly without shame. Succeed quietly without guilt. That's independence mastered, where validation feels pleasant but unnecessary. Step away from the chorus for a while. Measure privately. Execute steadily. Detach gracefully. Build a life that doesn't flicker when the crowd looks away. Applause always ends. Discipline must not. The moment you stop performing for approval and start performing for principle, you enter the territory where peace and power coexist. That's where the 1% truly live. Chapter 8. What they do when no one applauds. The real measure of greatness isn't how someone performs under lights, it's who they remain when the lights go dark. When attention disappears, discipline appears. Most people work hard only when recognition follows: the photo, the milestone, the visible proof. They treat progress as a stage, but the top 1% know the truth. The crucial work is invisible. They master the hours no one records. The world celebrates the show, they celebrate the rehearsal. The silence between achievements separates the temporary from the timeless. In that quiet, motives speak clearly. Are you working to look consistent or to be consistent? Would you keep going if no one ever clapped? If progress depends on feedback, attention fuels you more than conviction. The silent leaders run on an internal engine. They need no witness, they already trust the worth of what they're building. Every craft requires unseen investment. Behind public polish lie countless hours of repetition and revision. Scales practiced, sentences rewritten, weights lifted alone. No cheering section, no applause. That privacy matters. Mastery is a private relationship between you and process. External praise distracts from it. Even approval dressed as kindness can fragment focus. When applause becomes oxygen, performance suffocates without it. Commanded by audience, growth stops where noise stops. Many peak early because admiration mattered more than improvement. The mature mind flips the instinct. Silence becomes training weight. Each day without applause builds durability, self-trust instead of audience trust. Quiet seasons expose who's serious. Early enthusiasm fuels everyone briefly, but when novelty fades and returns diminish, most label the plateau as failure. The disciplined call it incubation. Growth hides deliberately to harden unnoticed. The 1% don't panic when progress goes unseen. They understand compounding invisibility. Every skill matures privately before it ever impresses publicly. A boxer tunes footwork long before the fight. A writer discards dozens of drafts for one clean page. A scientist repeats experiments for years before discovery. No spotlight covers that. Only focus sustains it. That's the line dividing performers from professionals. The willingness to persist when the world looks away. To work through silence, two forces matter most: patience and faith. Patience keeps you present in slow processes. Faith reminds you unseen effort still counts. Faith doesn't promise success, it protects perseverance. The self-trained act from principle, the average act for praise. Faith is why the 1% appear calm while distraction consumes everyone chasing visibility. When validation controls your mood, stability vanishes. One compliment lifts you, one absence crushes you. Freedom begins when you value metrics no one else can distort. Hours trained, lessons integrated, promises kept. Applause never increases their standard, routine does. Their roots are too deep for shallow noise to shake them. Becoming self-rewarded starts by redefining satisfaction. Enjoy precision itself. Measure the accuracy of execution. Notice the patience of repetition. When fulfillment comes from performance quality instead of performance recognition, every day yields payoff. Look at how the disciplined end their days. Most people scroll, seeking evidence they mattered. The elite review, plan, and rest. Their peace doesn't require attention, it rests on completion. Peace, for them, isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of order. To join that level, design solitude on purpose. Create habits needing only your participation. Track progress privately. Journal for your own study, not for sharing. Document work, but don't broadcast it.
Each private proof cements confidence. When you know your hours, you don't need anyone to remind you you've improved. Silence becomes ally, not punishment. Turn down feedback intentionally. You don't need constant metrics to stay motivated. Checking results endlessly kills patience. The 1% let growth ripen naturally. They measure methodically, not impulsively. Seeds grow underground. Dig them up daily and you halt their roots. Let your progress breathe. Evaluate weekly or monthly, never by the hour. The less you hunt for proof, the more appears, because attention stays on process. Working without applause also builds humility. Ego shrinks when effort stays unseen. You start respecting slow construction. Entitlement dissolves, gratitude replaces it. When success finally arrives, it feels earned, not owed. That calm gratitude endures because it remembers silence. Applause fades, foundation endures. Psychologically, solitude rewires reward itself. When satisfaction ties to consistency, not novelty, dopamine arrives with repetition. The untrained brain craves new. The trained one finds joy in steady rhythm. That's mastery, when repeated effort feels less like work and more like identity. Test this now. Choose one meaningful task daily. Do it privately for a week. Tell no one. Watch yourself. If temptation to announce or boredom creeps in, that's dependency loosening its grip. Stay quiet through the urge. Peace follows. Remember, applause confirms, it doesn't create. Praise arrives after value exists. If you craft quietly, applause will come. If you rely on applause first, momentum dies at silence. Every admired figure served years invisible. They never confused invisibility with insignificance. They knew their craft was deepening underground. The world overflows with people performing for recognition, shouting for attention to prove they're here. A few, however, work while others pose. Noise fades, results remain. Each quiet day is a deposit in inevitability's account, interest compounding until the world calls you overnight success. When that call finally comes, you won't be shocked. You rehearsed it alone for years. So when acknowledgement feels scarce, consider it sacred. That emptiness is training resistance to distraction. Let others announce, you accumulate. Let others chase noise, you build signal. Because this has never been about being seen building. It's about building so solidly that eventually, even silence carries your name.
Chapter 9. The Invisible Advantage. Structure as Freedom. From the outside, freedom looks spontaneous. Wake whenever you want, do whatever feels right, answer to no one. But study those who actually reach their potential and you'll see the opposite. The freest people live inside frameworks. Their rules, rituals, and routines create the very space that lets them breathe. What looks restrictive from a distance is liberation up close. Structure doesn't confine them, it carries them. Most of the world runs on reaction. Days begin in chaos, guided by messages, moods, emergencies. They aren't trapped by rules, they're trapped by randomness. Every distraction becomes a command. They mistake flexibility for freedom when it's really captivity. Without systems, impulses drive every decision. The 1% reverse that equation. They limit the trivial so the essential can stay wide open. They learned early that freedom isn't the absence of control, it's the mastery of it. Structure is the invisible advantage because it erases confusion. Decide once and you save energy forever. When to wake, what to eat, how long to work, already settled. Decision fatigue dissolves, focus remains. The disciplined pre-plan micro details not from obsession, but efficiency. Every pre-decided task saves mental fuel for higher problems. They automate the ordinary to innovate the extraordinary. Contrast the two minds. The unstructured debate themselves constantly. Should I start now or later? Rest or push? Each hesitation drains ambition before effort begins. The structured don't consult emotion, they consult schedule. The answer is written. Proceed. That speed, acting while others are still deciding, compounds into achievement. Structure builds safety, and safety breeds risk. When the framework of your life holds steady, you can afford to leap. Artists create daring work because routine grounds them. Entrepreneurs gamble wisely because fundamentals, sleep, study, systems, stay fixed. Courage becomes affordable only inside order. Without it, every risk threatens collapse. Structure multiplies time by shrinking waste. Constraints expand hours by focusing them. Block mornings for deep work, evenings for reflection, media within narrow gates. Suddenly time feels abundant because intention replaced impulse. The unstructured drown in options and call it freedom. The structured narrow choices and find abundance in progress. Structure also reshapes identity. Each consistent act whispers to the subconscious, I keep my word. Over time, that whisper becomes belief, then proof. Confidence grows not from results but from reliability. Even amid uncertainty, your routines remain known. Predictability becomes strength, the power to function under pressure while others fracture. Those without structure idolize surface freedom. Late mornings, random choices, convenient excuses. But freedom without skeleton collapses. It becomes chaos marketed as lifestyle. Look at the so-called rigid. Notice their calm, their efficiency, the quiet knowing of what tomorrow demands. Their certainty is luxury, the mind at rest because decisions are already made. Freedom without structure flatters ego. I answer to no one. But ego soon becomes the harshest ruler. Without anchors, dopamine commands the day. Cravings steer effort like wind tossing an unmoored boat. Attention scatters, exhaustion follows. Discipline reclaims command. Structure is the anchor that permits navigation instead of drift. The 1% treat their framework as sacred architecture. Morning rituals hold their lives steady, simple, repeatable, immune to chaos. The same breakfast, the same first action, the same sequence of planning. It looks obsessive, it's efficient. Repetition saves willpower. Each completed path tells the brain, we know what to do. Calm returns. Energy frees itself for creativity later. Inside that architecture hides a quieter secret. Structured people schedule rest as seriously as work. They see recovery as part of performance. The unstructured sprint and crash, intensity followed by collapse. The disciplined pace themselves. Rest appears on the calendar not as escape, but as maintenance. That balance makes their consistency appear superhuman. They're never empty, never overextended. Structure also builds boundaries that equal self-respect. With a defined schedule, saying no becomes logic, not guilt. Principles aren't debated, they're referenced. A planned life is difficult to hijack. The elite defend their time because intrusion dilutes precision. Protecting order isn't selfish, it's survival. Critics call structure boring, yet boredom is the soil of mastery. Repetition refines precision. Athletes drilling fundamentals, writers editing drafts, entrepreneurs reviewing numbers. They aren't obsessed, they're engineering inevitability. Structure transforms hope into probability. The psychological shift is profound. Chaos breeds anxiety through uncertainty. Order shrinks the unknown. When crisis strikes, structured minds check procedure, not panic. Their composure looks heroic, but it's simply rehearsal. The person who built rules during calm moves confidently through storm. Building the invisible advantage begins small. Choose 3 daily pillars, 1 physical, 1 mental, 1 professional. Maybe exercise at dawn, study midday, complete core work before distraction. Fix the times. Guard them. These anchors stabilize momentum. The rest of the day arranges around them. At first it feels mechanical, full of alarms and reminders. Stay with it. Mechanical becomes natural. Natural becomes identity. Expect resistance. A mind addicted to chaos rejects structure like an addict rejects sobriety. You'll excuse disorder with elegant phrases. Creativity needs spontaneity. Flexibility shows intelligence. Recognize those as fear masquerading as wisdom. Novelty feels safer than depth, but real growth hides in monotony. Accept monotony as tuition for mastery. Gradually, structure changes how you experience time. Hours stop feeling like enemies. Deadlines transform into rhythm. Punctuality becomes pride. Routine feels like harmony. The anxious question, "Am I doing enough?" fades. You don't measure progress by mood anymore, but by completed systems. That steadiness becomes quiet prosperity. Then structure delivers its final gift, clarity. When everything has its place, distractions lose disguise. What remains are true priorities. Noise thins, authenticity stands out. You realize much of what you chased belonged to others' expectations. Structure filters imitation. Boredom filters truth. Through deliberate order, individuality sharpens. So build the framework. Rise and rest by rule. Guard your plan like treasure, not display. Do it not for admiration, but for liberation. One day, as chaos swirls and you glide calmly through it, you will understand why the elite seem unshakable. They're not superhuman. They're structured. Structure didn't imprison their freedom. It made freedom functional. Freedom is never free. It's earned through consistency, protected by discipline, financed by design. The crowd sees independence. The wise see architecture. Commit to that architecture. Trade spontaneity for supremacy. The steady certainty that your day obeys you, not the other way around. That is the invisible advantage. The world may never notice it, but it will always feel its power.
Chapter 10. Becoming the person others study. Somewhere along the road from frustration to mastery, the question that launched you, "Why not me?" flips inward. The comparison that once burned starts to fade, replaced by a quieter realization. Others are now watching you. They study your rhythm, your steadiness, the calm that outlines your routine. They notice that while they chase motivation, you move by method. While they react, you respond. Without planning it, you cross the invisible border separating seekers from examples. Becoming someone others study isn't a trophy. It's an after effect of control. The shift happens quietly. You no longer need promises to yourself or reminders on your phone. Habits run on autopilot. Structure has become reflex. You don't need to broadcast ambition. Your calendar already testifies. You rarely explain your goals. Your results do the talking. That is self-respect made visible. A life engineered so cleanly that it requires no advertisement. When people call it luck or talent, you simply nod, knowing its repetition refined into rhythm. To become the kind of person worth studying, first drop performance. Stop chasing admiration, pursue accuracy. Admiration collects naturally around mastery. It cannot be demanded. Most of the 1% never meant to inspire anyone. They were too absorbed in refinement. Because their focus stayed private, their work grew magnetic. Authentic dedication communicates louder than speeches. Quiet excellence attracts an attention that shouting never could. At this level, simplicity deepens influence. Complexity dazzles newcomers. Clarity guides professionals. The longer you practice consistency, the less you crave variety. Repetition becomes the forge where precision sharpens. Mastery hides inside that predictable rhythm. In a culture obsessed with novelty, reliability is revolutionary. Leadership begins beneath titles. Authority belongs to the most stable mind in the room.
Disciplined people lead by gravity, steady presence that organizes confusion. Their choices carry weight because emotion doesn't pull them off balance. Order within creates order around. People don't follow charisma, they follow structure. You become a lighthouse simply by refusing to move. The less you chase influence, the more influence arrives. The next hallmark of mastery is detachment from mood. Prodigies depend on inspiration, professionals depend on systems. You'll know you're shifting from excitement to example when your output stays constant through boredom and acclaim alike. You work because work defines you. That consistency comforts those still uncertain. They don't watch you for motivation, they watch you for proof that discipline survives ordinary days. Remember, being an example carries responsibility. Once others start modeling your behavior, everything you tolerate teaches them permission. Integrity tightens. You become keeper of standards for people you may never meet. When the disciplined act decisively, it isn't pride, it's stewardship. They hold their rhythm because others borrow stability from it. One steady person steadies many. Guard two boundaries as your reputation grows: energy and ego. Energy management keeps focus sharp. Ego management keeps humanity intact. You stop convincing and correcting everyone. Clarity leads without argument. And you remind yourself daily that being studied doesn't make you superior. Greatness suffocates faster under worship than under criticism. Tell yourself often, I'm still a student of my own system. Soon, those who once triggered your envy will seek your guidance. Instead of jealousy, they bring questions. Answer honestly. Don't polish the story. Show them the repetitions, the errors, the dull days. Transparency rescues them from fantasy. The world doesn't need more legends, it needs examples that still bleed. Admitting real struggle turns your success into usable evidence. As structure stabilizes your life, urgency evaporates. Noise that once provoked anxiety now sounds faint. You make decisions in seasons instead of seconds. That long perspective is what sets examples apart. Patience separates the durable from the desperate. Years of small commitments give your voice a quiet authority others can't fake. They'll feel it before hearing it, a slow heartbeat of certainty under every word. Stillness isn't stagnation. You're not stuck, you're steady. The world will try to drag you back into chaos. New fads, new hacks, new loud coaches promising reinvention. Watch with curiosity, not compliance. Growth now means refinement, not overhaul. The elite don't rebuild foundations, they polish them continuously. Longevity beats novelty every time. At this stage, ambition changes shape. You no longer strive to prove your worth, you explore your capacity. Work becomes privilege, the privilege of discovering what patience can create. You stop chasing spikes of performance because you trust momentum's slow thunder. Peace replaces pressure. Effort remains, but urgency dissolves. Maintain student habits inside your master routines. Keep reading, practicing, auditing your own systems. The moment you believe you've arrived, erosion begins. The strongest builders walk through their structures, searching for cracks, visible or not. Self-inspection is humility performed. Quietly rebuild before collapse requires it. Eventually, others will credit you with traits that simply equal consistency, wisdom, composure, especially grace under stress. Accept those compliments lightly. They are reflections of what others hope to cultivate in themselves. Receive them, then return to routine. Returning protects truth from ego's rewrite. The invisible advantages you built, structure, patience, precision, and now foundations for service. You model discipline not for worship, but to demonstrate access. Example says, if I can build this, so can you. Consider the reach of one stable person. Families calm around them, teams align, standards rise without orders given. Every disciplined mind reshapes the environment it inhabits. Influence spreads quietly through repetition. The 1% aren't distant icons, they're steady frequencies tuning everything nearby. And here's the irony. When you finally become the person others study, recognition stops mattering. Fulfillment replaces it. You find more joy in ordinary work than in applause. Predictability feels proud. Pattern feels peaceful. The thrill left long ago, replaced by grounded assurance. That peace is the loudest evidence of mastery. The journey that began with "Why not me?" ends with a quiet, certain answer. This is why. You've proven that process outlasts passion, that design eclipses luck, that silence carries strength. People may quote your methods someday, but the legacy lives in what they build after watching you. So stay steady. Keep refining, adjusting, learning. Let curiosity stay higher than pride, humility louder than praise. When you live like that long enough, imitation becomes gratitude. That's the final stage of mastery, when your discipline reproduces itself in others. And when that happens, you'll know you've come full circle. You became what you once observed.